So Steve Sorensen Mechanical, it's been around for 25 years in the local area here in Browns Plains, Queensland. Started by my father, obviously Steve Sorensen. So I came into the business as an apprentice and I could see, he had a tremendous mechanical background, but we were lacking a little bit in the diagnostic side as a lot of workshops were in that area. So basically I jumped pretty heavily into that side of things, and so coming through with common rail diesel and GDI, I like these new technologies, so it makes sense to jump into the hybrid and EV space. Myself, I'm one of the directors of TAT, so it gives me that sort of underpinning technical support. And moving into the hybrid and EV space, we're also taking that one step further with the EV and hybrid network. The EV and hybrid customer is pretty tech savvy, and we weren't doing enough to show them that we were ready to accommodate what they needed with their new vehicles. So we've put a really big focus on the marketing side to be able to show them, look, we are putting in the effort to do the training. We have the support through the EV and hybrid network. We've got the signage up to let them know that on the website. And so that's really helping us to retain those customers. And we hope that it's also going to secure our place in the suburbs so that we can be the place for people to come. So after completing our training, there are services that we can offer that other places in the suburb can't. Of course, we've got our servicing that we want to make sure that we can keep the customers in there, but we can also take care of some of these repairs and the diagnostic side of things. So I think a big part of where the independent's going to be moving here is a lot of the dealer is just replacing of components on a large scale, and we're talking expensive components here. So as we start gathering a database of common faults and these kinds of things on the EV and hybrids, by having a network of independents that can share this kind of information, just like we've done decades previous, there's a lot more repair that you can do on these vehicles where we're not throwing away the bulk expensive components by getting down to the component level inside, say, a battery pack. If we're dealing with just a startup resistor or just a cell of the battery, we can make it a much more cost-effective repair for the customer. So we're able to offer our customers, one, the servicing that these vehicles still need. An EV and hybrid does still need servicing. There is a whole car around that high voltage system that still exists. But with our training, we're able to get into the diagnostics and repair side of it as well. So I think a really big opportunity for the independents, once we educate the customer that they don't have to go to the dealer with these new technology vehicles, is we can offer some really cost-effective solutions. So the dealer is very much into replacing components as a whole, and that's understandable. That's what their service information tells us. But just like we've done for decades past in the independents, we find solutions that are still as good, if not better, by fixing the actual root cause of the problem and maybe even improving it. So we may be going inside of the battery pack itself and replacing a startup capacitor that we know is a common fault, and it's only a $1 part, right? Why throw away an entire battery pack for something like that? So by teaming together with the independents, and this is where networking comes in so important, we can find these common problems, we can offer really good solutions for the customer and show them that the independent is a really good place to take your EV or hybrid. So there's a lot of angles to this question of, what do we think about if we're going to get into EV and hybrid? Just like all workshops, first there is this fear of the unknown, because if you're going to hang a sign out the front of the door, they're all going to come in there and you need to be able to fix the things, don't you? So I think the training is the big part at the start so that you can have a bit of confidence that whatever comes in, we'll be able to get through it. So then we get into the workshop itself. So we need to make sure that we've got a safe place to work on it. We need good lighting. We need no wet area right near where we're going to be doing it. We need the safety equipment so that we can make a safe space there. And then we get into the actual equipment to work on these vehicles. Now, the good thing is the actual investment into this is not an extreme amount. We have so much diagnostic equipment in the regular workshop, and that's going to still apply to the majority of the vehicle. To get into the high voltage system, there are some specific items we're going to need. Obviously, most of us know about the safety. We've all seen the gloves. all those kinds of things. But as far as diagnostic equipment, because I think that's what people are questioning, so a few things you will want to go and get. You're going to want yourself a mega meter. So this is something that's basically a resistance test, but able to put it on a big scale. So we're talking 1,000 volts rather than your little regular resistance meter that you've got. So get yourself a mega meter, and you're going to be testing for insulation faults is a big thing. A milliohm meter is another one that we can use to test motors, and then we can move right up to actual motor testers, and that's where, yes, the investment can get large when we get into that area. So again, networking comes in. The All Test Pro is something that the EV and hybrid network have, and the idea is we're going to loan that around the network, because when we get into the expensive items, it makes sense that not every workshop has to have them, right? And there's no reason that we can't collaborate. But as far as the overall, how do I get started in this and what's the investment? I would set aside even $5,000 is a pretty reasonable amount to say, look, you'll be pretty covered. That's going to get you your safety equipment. That's going to get you maybe a basic set of insulated hand tools, and it's going to get you a milliohm tester and a mega. So training comes in many forms, and I'd say that I've picked up different things from each one. So the place to start first is going to be with your RTO, your registered training organisation. So I started with MTA Queensland. I did what at the time was a 4-day course, and that got me the recognised qualifications, just so we're covered in that base, which we need to be able to access the data. So, there are literally qualifications that you need to be able to then access the data. So that's the place to start. That gave me a really solid underpinning as far as, okay, this is how the vehicle works. I've played around with a couple of the components there, and you go, you know what, this isn't too bad. It's not too scary when I look at it. Like everything, it's not like you go to a course and you're going to master it. So how many fuel injection courses have you been to over the decades? It's lifelong learning. So the next phase that I moved to was some online training. So there's plenty that's out there. There's no better substitute with the training than dealing with a real master of the craft that's still working on vehicles currently. So I did put the investment in to go over to the United States. So in Boston, Massachusetts, there's the ACDC Training Center run by Craig Van Battenberg. So he's actually been there for a couple of decades, a real character. He actually owned one of the first EVs that we're getting around in the United States. He's a big Honda fan, so he had one of the Honda Insights, and he's got a parking lot out the back of, if you talk about a component, he'll usually go, there's the vehicle, let's go play with it. So that was a really great week, and from that I took a lot of the diagnostic practices. So that's the kind of difficult stuff to do training wise. You kind of have to now take that to the workshop and get into it and start using your own hands, but I really gained a lot from that. So the change for the team in the workshop here is just as big as us in the office. So there's definitely been a bit of a mixed bag as far as, particularly the younger guys, as expected. They are pretty keen to embrace this with open arms, and it makes sense that if you're getting further in your career that you might go, is this really for me? But what we've found is it is shifting, because you start to see some of the stuff that's getting worked on, and suddenly doing the oil change or the regular set of struts or something, it's not that exciting, is it? Everyone wants a bit of mixture in their work. So we do have the different levels of training that are throughout the workshop, just as you would with anything else. At the moment, I'd say half of my staff have at least their RTO-based training, so they're the ones that are more interested in it. The other guys, though, I think they're starting to come around, and then basically if they show me the interest and they want to get into more training, then that's where we're going to end up with the hierarchy, I suppose, of, you need to be able to know how to safely disable the high voltage system to be able to work on some of the other things that are in the engine bay, if we want to call it that. But if you want to get into the higher levels, then you might be going inside the battery pack, which requires a higher level of training. So EVs are still relatively rare. I'd say that we get maybe 1 or 2 a month, mainly for servicing. Hybrid is a different story, and the reality is that's where a lot of the money to be made at the moment is. So the hybrids themselves, there is still basically an entire ICE vehicle that's there as well, the internal combustion engine plus the high voltage system. So as far as when are we going to start seeing more rolling in? Well, the EVs, they're still in warranty, a lot of them. So a lot of people are going to stay at the dealer, but if we can show them through the marketing, through the EV and hybrid network that we are the place to bring them, we offer better customer service, we show more care, then there's no reason that we can't take those customers anyway. Whereas the hybrid, we're in a really unique position at the moment, I think, with the independents. So if we talk about, say, warranty periods on the really common Toyota hybrid, that had a 10-year warranty on their high voltage battery pack, which we now have over 10-year-old hybrids that are out there. So regardless of that warranty period, we're now really opening up the door to, hey, come to us. Why aren't we starting the conversation through our marketing, through our networks to get the customer to have the conversation with us, and they probably don't know what we actually can offer. So I think the key to making the move, which, to be honest, I feel like we're all going to have to, I think the key is to get on the front foot. So you want to be seen by the customer as the safe place to bring the EV and hybrid. So what we can do via the customers that are already coming in is showing our signage, showing that we're part of networks, showing that we have the training hanging up on the wall. You don't know what they're thinking about for their next vehicle, and you want to make sure that you're going to retain them as a customer, even if they come in that clapped out old Hilux. So by getting ahead of the curve, I think there's really big opportunities here where we can already have our foot in the door, and by the time the big wave, know what we actually can offer. So I think the key to making the move, which, to be honest, I feel like we're all going to have to, I think the key is to get on the front foot. So you want to be seen by the customer as the safe place to bring the EV and hybrid. So what we can do via the customers that are already coming in is showing our signage. But if we can show them through the marketing, through the EV and hybrid network that we are the place to bring them, we offer better customer service, we show more care, then there's no reason that we can't take those customers anyway. Whereas the hybrid, we're in a really unique position at the moment, I think, with the independents. So if we talk about, say, warranty periods on the really common Toyota hybrid, that had a 10-year warranty on their high voltage battery pack, which we now have over 10-year-old hybrids that are out there. So regardless of that warranty period, we're now really opening up the door to, hey, come to us. Why aren't we starting the conversation through our marketing, through our networks to get the customer to have the conversation with us, and they probably don't know what we actually can offer. So I think the key to making the move, which, to be honest, I feel like we're all going to have to, I think the key is to get on the front foot. So you want to be seen by the customer as the safe place to bring the EV and hybrid. So what we can do via the customers that are already coming in is showing our signage, showing that we're part of networks, showing that we have the training hanging up on the wall. You don't know what they're thinking about for their next vehicle, and you want to make sure that you're going to retain them as a customer, even if they come in that clapped out old Hilux. So by getting ahead of the curve, I think there's really big opportunities here where we can already have our foot in the door, and by the time the big wave comes and it crashes on the industry itself, well, you've already learned to swim and you'll be able to prosper on it.